What is going on, everyone? Commodore Laz here. Now that I've given myself a few days to kind of just sit back, process the news that's come out, and see basically where my feelings lie, we gotta talk about the return of the Haikyu Haruichi Furudate's masterpiece. The Haikyu anime is set to be coming back, but in a different format than what we're normally used to. Obviously, every time when Haikyu comes back, it's usually through the seasons. The recent one finishing up season 4 in the Nationals arc, as we're about to get ready to see Karasuno versus Nekoma, a matchup that manga fans know how goated it is. Japan has it as their favorite match in the series, but the format that it's going to be adapted in does give me some concern, because it was revealed over the weekend that Haikyu will be returning with 2 films to adapt the final portions of the manga. So where we are right now currently in terms of the time frame is chapter 293 to 402 is what's left of the manga. So roughly 110 chapters of the manga remains. And to see that it's going to be adapted in the format of films rather than having a season 5 does feel a little weird, because for me, as someone who does love watching films, I have seen the stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, the One Piece films, all the stuff that's come out in the last little while. They have been amazing. I think the adaptations for films, or just the way that they portrayed them and put them out there to really exemplify how good the content can really be in the anime format. I think the best examples to really put that into perspective is, the Demon Train arc in Kimetsu no Yaiba, what we saw with Jujutsu Kaisen Zero for the prequel of the main series. There's a lot of ways that the movies could be of good value, but I do believe that for what's left of the Haikyu manga, I'm very skeptical of how this is going to be done, because as I say again, 110 chapters are what remain left of the story. And even though I feel like the best portions of the story could be adapted properly and they'll really showcase just how good they can be, I do worry that things are going to be cut out from those 2 films, from parts of the manga that really make it so good. Because those of you who are manga fans know where I'm coming from my coverage week to week. The beginning of Nationals all the way up until the end of the series is godsend. And if you were to take away some of those things that were from the manga that we experience week to week, that make every piece of the story, whether it's from the past, the present, and the future, stand out so well. If that stuff was not to be put in there and they take it out just to be able to fit in the screen time of about an hour and 30 minutes possibly, could be more than that, but going by the most likely numbers that you see in anime films, an hour and 30 minutes, especially in 2 parts, 3 hours total to adapt 110 chapters, I think is a bit crazy. If you were talking about essentially the final arc of the story, so between the chapters 369 all the way up until 402, be adapted as one film, I would have no issues. I think that itself could easily be pulled off. To be able to do the conclusion of Nationals, the last few matches, and then having after that stuff be taken care of the final arc, I don't know how that's going to translate really well without removing stuff from there. Maybe we would get some OVAs after in between to kind of bridge the gap a little bit. From where things are standing right now, we are just getting the films, and it does give me some concern, because not to mention the fact that we have to wait when it comes to the theater release dates, because when it comes to Japan, they always have their own release dates of when something comes out. We, as people from North America or from the other side of the world, only get to see these films like a month or 2, possibly even 3 months after the fact when they come out. To sit around and know that I can't watch the last portions of what is my favorite manga adapted and be handled in this format, it hurts my soul. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the last arc, when it's animated in the films, I think I'll be fine with it. But to see the likes of Nekoma versus Karasuno and the last 2 matches to follow up afterwards possibly have been cut down or content just taken away in general, it's very tough to see that it's going to be a success. Maybe the second film will do really well because it is the last portions. But again, if they are going to be cutting out stuff from these films, then it's not really a good idea. I think the best route would have been for a season 5 to adapt chapters 293 all the way up until 369, and then afterwards adapt the final arc as a film. Very much you could have done so. That could have been the route that IG could have gone with. If they are going with this route instead, where it's going to be a 2-part films, one of them which is coming out in 2023. The other one I am assuming comes out in 2024. If it comes out earlier, great, but if not, they really need to make sure they're taking their time with this, because we saw already the debacle that was with season 4. As much as I do like that season, I do think that it wasn't as good as it could have been. Again, COVID got in the way of stuff. You can tell with the outsourcing, the different studios that really show the effects that it had on the production value. And it's something that I do think that they wanted to make sure, Production IG, that there was no issues this time around. It has taken a while since the last season that we've gotten. To go in this format, as I say, it is very worrisome for me as someone who loves this manga so much. It could very easily be my favorite anime if all the last portions of the story are handled correctly. So I am going in with a little bit of optimism, but I am a little scared still at the same time of how the rest of this is going to be handled. But not just also the movies that we also got this announcement for. We are going to be getting an epilogue chapter for the manga for the one shot that came out earlier this year, which means we still have one more chapter of the Haikyu Haipu in our life from Haruichi Furudate. It's set to be coming out sometime on September 2nd through the Haikyu 10th Anniversary Chronicle book. And again, the fact that it's been 10 years since the GOAT started, getting all this stuff right now, it is awesome. And again, the epilogue chapter, I feel like, even if it's just stuff of recap of what happened in the one shot, or just the characters just talking in general, whatever it may be, I'm still going to be excited for it. Just the fact that I get more Haikyu content, even breadcrumbs, we gladly take those, because honestly, we're going to be needing them for as long as possible until Furudate announces what their next series is going to be. And I do hope that eventually we get that in due time. So depending on how you want to take this, we are finally getting news that the Haikyu anime is coming back. But in the formats of how it is coming, I do think that alongside myself, there's others out there who may be feeling a little bit worried about how that's going to be handled. If Production IG are able to make sure that the production is going to be great, that there's nothing that's going to be skipped out, the actors, we already know, are going to be putting on masterclasses every time they perform. And if they're able to make sure that these last portions, these last 110 chapters are adapted correctly, nothing is skipped out, we actually get greatness on greatness on greatness, we have nothing to worry about. But for the moment in time, I'm going to be keeping a sharp eye and seeing how this is going to go. If it doesn't hit, well, blood in my eyes. But if it does hit, I could definitely see this being the continued trajectory for a lot of these series coming out down the line, where most of these arcs that they decide to adapt instead of in seasons are going to be going through the movie process. And again, like I said, with Kimetsu no Yaiba, Jujutsu Kaisen, a lot of that stuff is going to start happening eventually. And the success from these two films that are coming out for Haikyu are done very well. Then this is something that we're going to probably have to get used to. I do hope though that worldwide releases at the very least are going to be a consideration. For a series that has 55 million copies worldwide, there is no way that you can say that we aren't excited for this film, that we want to be able to see this film regardless of what our feelings are going to be like. Japan, Production IG, whoever it may be, Toho, I don't care who it is, but y'all need to make sure that the West is able to experience the greatness of Haruichi Furudate's masterpiece on the big screen in cinema form. So let me know how we're feeling down in the comments below in regards to Haikyu getting 2 films to conclude the final portions of the manga. Are we excited about the prospect that we're going to get possibly the best production value for what's to come? Or are you guys afraid of the fact that we may end up seeing stuff from the manga be cut out just to fit the time slot of what's available for us in the movies? Let me know any excitement, any worries that you may have in regards to all of this down in the comments below. Anything you want to provide in terms of clarification or stuff that I probably didn't get to talk about in this video that you want to let me know down in the comments below, feel free to do so. Like the video if you enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here if you want to be part of the weekly experience when it comes to my coverage of pretty much any series I talk about on here, because I won't be able to cover the movie when it does drop. If it does somehow come out in a way that I can do something on Twitch, a watch through, a watch along, whatever it may be, let me know down in the comments if you would like to see that. I'm not sure how in the hell I'm going to try and get it up on the channel, but in some way, some form, I do want to talk about the greatness. And of course, when the epilogue chapter does drop, stay tuned for that, because I will be covering it. I will be talking about it and making sure that the streets remember that this is the house right here that hosts the greatness of Haruichi Furudate's masterpiece, that talks about it when it drops, when it comes out, whenever it may be. Like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here. If you want to be here from whenever I do come back and return and cover the epilogue chapter for the latest installment and what could be the last of Haruichi Furudate's masterpiece, subscribe if you haven't already. Click on the bell Shandora to stay up to date with everything goes on the channel. With that being said, I will try and catch you guys after when the movie does drop, possibly in a year's time, but we'll see for the epilogue chapter. If there is a way for this movie to somehow come out where I can be able to cover it, live react to it, maybe on Twitch or something, because it is going to be pretty long in terms of, an hour plus, definitely stay tuned for that. There will be hopefully news in regards to it. And when the time does come, we'll be back here on this channel, sitting in this chair with the shirt on for the Nekoma Karasuno greatness, with the manga volume right here, to talk about the latest and potentially last installments of Haruichi Furudate's masterpiece. Commodore signing off. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care. Going crazy, yeah.